Home isn't just a place, it's a feeling. Whether you're at home, your business, or online, ADT helps keep you safe. With security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance, so you can feel at home, wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling. ADT, home, safe home.
Glad you're with us on a Friday morning. Trey Wingo, Mike Golic in. We are on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests will appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. In a few minutes, we'll have Peter King from the MMQB and Sports Illustrated join us to talk about all things football. But, Mike, you know, we ended the last segment.
We did.
With a fight that's going to go all day.
It is. There was a
list
survey in the UK of 2,000 people.
Daily Mail,
2,000 people of the top 30 most boring games in the world. So these are a combination of games and sports. And according to these 2,000 people, they chose the 30 most boring games in the world, all the way from number 30 being diving to number 1 being golf, to which I applaud them for how accurate they are, and you are not very happy about
Well, I
that.
think you, like all the Brits, are now insane. I think you've all collectively lost your yarbles.
There's a few on here we had to look up, like drafts. It's spelled D-R-A-U-G-H-T-S.
I'm just going to call it draughts because I think that sounds more British.
It's actually checkers. Yeah. And then netball, which began in England in the 1890s, is like basketball without the backboard, and you can't hold the ball for more
It's like
than
basketball
3 seconds.
light. Maybe this would explain why the Brits are so bad at basketball.
There you go.
Because they think it's netball.
They think it's netball.
They're very confused.
And there was another sport that came in on number 9 on the list called bowls, B-O-W-L-S, and that is basically like bocce ball, like lawn bowling, which I love, by the way.
You'd rather watch bocce than golf?
I'd rather watch the good ones do it, yeah.
The good bocce players?
Oh, yeah.
And you know enough about bocce to know which ones are the good ones.
Are you kidding me?
Yes, I think you're kidding me.
You can tell right away.
I'm 100% certain
you're kidding.
You can tell
right away.
Based on what?
And a lot of people...
Based on the arc of the throw? What is it?
Listen, at one point I was one of the great athletes in the world, okay, when I was a professional player.
And then you woke up.
So for people like us...
And then the dream ended.
For people like us...
Literally, the dream ended and you got out of bed.
Yeah. People like us, and I know you wouldn't understand this.
No, that's true.
We have this sense, about athletes and athletics.
So as you're sensing great bocce players, what are the little things that hit your little radars that make you think this is a good bocce player?
How well they balance holding the beer in one hand and the ball in the other hand.
I thought you just said in the last hour, if you could do something drunk, it invalidates it.
No. I said that's the difference between a game and a sport.
All right. See, all these great theories of yours are getting lost in my head.
Drunk when you do it. Isn't that the way we should differentiate?
Honestly, that's a very good point, and I'm not against that in any way, shape, or form. I want to be clear.
Cricket is number 2. I like watching cricket, but in reading about this list, the explanation was nobody understands the rules of cricket.
That is 100% true.
The game can go on for like 3 days.
And the score is 157,000 under 75 minus 12.
I think it's cool to watch, but I have no clue what I'm watching.
Look, we're getting a lot of tweets on this, and keep hitting us at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed this weekend. Win on the field and at home with bouquets from 1-800-Flowers.com. When you order a dozen multicolored roses for $29.99, you get an extra bouquet and a vase for free. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. So we're getting a lot of tweets on this, but this is a British list, right?
Yeah,
it's a British list.
Yes.
So how can you have a British list that says cricket is the second most boring game in the world, and football, or as they call it, or as we call it, soccer, is what, 10th or 11th?
Number 10.
I thought they all love soccer over there.
That's why you know what you're getting out of these people?
It's a bad list.
You know what you're getting out of these people?
What?
The truth and how they really
You know
feel.
what? You know what you're talking about? How you differentiate between a game and a sport if you can do it drunk? Mm-hmm. They did this list drunk.
No.
This is a bad list. This is a list of drunken ridiculousness. I mean, for crying out loud, any list that has American football on it as one of the 30 most boring games in the world, invalidated.
Yeah, it's number 16.
Invalidated.
Rugby's on there, tennis, boxing, fencing, water polo, archery, gymnastics. But, I do have some questions about the lists, and certainly you can add your own on Twitter to us at Mike and Mike.
We got some here.
Yeah.
This guy says, how did curling not make the list? Curling did make the list. Curling is 30-20. It's like in the late teens, early 20s.
Yeah, curling is on the list.
But curling is essentially taking a large stone and brooming shavings out.
Love it.
And you'd rather watch that than
Love
golf. I think
curling.
you are lying right now.
I am not
You are
lying.
lying to America.
I love curling.
You do not. You've never curled in your life.
I have not, and I want
There
to
it is.
curl.
I love curling, but I've never curled in my life.
All I know is when the
Your own words trap your argument.
when the Winter Olympics come around,
You're in a glass cage of emotion right now.
I watch curling, and you know what I don't do when I watch curling?
Yeah.
Fall asleep. Yeah. You know what I do when I'm watching golf? That's nap time.
Oh, that's probably because you're already 3 or 4 swing oils in from your couch. By the way, somebody does agree with you here. Lance Holden said, agreed, golf is the most boring game ever. Lance, you are never getting a bobblehead.
Thanks, Lance.
Never happening.
We'll send one your way.
I love this one, though. J.P. Swain, I just like that name, says, bowls is lawn bowling, like curling, but with balls. And then this one also, the other one, the most boring game, handball? Handball's
like
not
handball.
boring.
Quite honestly,
handball's fun.
I don't know how, chess can't be number one. I mean, I don't know how chess and or drafts, which is really checkers, really you would think those would be right up there at like 1 and 2. So I would have to agree with you. But I just enjoy so much the fact of how angry you get when anybody
I'm very angry
bad about your sport of golf.
I'm very
especially when we had the argument where I said the hardest thing to do in sports is hit a baseball off a major league pitcher, and you said the second hardest is putting a golf ball where you want it, which always made me throw up.
Well,
and made me rethink this whole future relationship.
Yeah, you don't get it saying that anymore.
It doesn't seem so. We're going to say a lot.
Ink signed. Paper's done. Well, although every athlete we've had on, like Ray Allen, agreed with me. They said it was the second hardest thing they've ever tried to do, besides their natural sport.
I don't think golf is that hard.
Yeah. Well, I've seen your swing, and for you it's hard.
I mean,
I've seen your swing.
I'm not really trying to shoot
good,
a great
because
score.
it certainly looked like it. Then you know what? You accomplished your goal. Congratulations. And we need to move on to more important goals, like our next guest.
Yeah.
The MMQB's Peter King joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Peter, thanks for putting up with our ridiculous list. How are you?
I love banter, Trey. How are you?
Very well, very well. So there's a lot of banter right now, Peter, in the city of Chicago. Is it time to scratch the itch for Mitch after what we saw last night?
I think the only way you know that is to find out from Dowell Loggins, John Fox, the coaching staff, how is Mitchell Trubisky playing in practice? Is he ready? It's easy to say once you see a lot of coaches playing quarterbacks, Deshaun Kaiser and Deshaun Watson, early and having some success where they are. It's easy to say, hey, just put the rookie in. But I think the only question you ask yourself if you're running the Chicago Bears is this. What is the best thing to do for our team for opening day 2018? You know that you're not going to the playoffs this year. You know you're not going to have a particularly great year. And you just want to make sure that you put your quarterback for 2018, who everybody assumes is Trubisky, you put him in when he's ready. And so that would be my overriding question. If he is ready, then I think whether it be, Game 5, Game 6, time is coming very soon. Look, there was one really good drive led by the quarterback last night. There was another really good drive led by Howard, the running back last night. But obviously, Glennon has not played well enough in the first 4 or 5 weeks of this season to merit keeping this job.
And Peter, I completely agree with you. I've said it for a while now. It all depends on the coaching staff's feeling of where Mitch Trubisky is. And you know who's going to know that better than anybody else is that offense that's practicing with the number one offense. Right. They're going to know if Mitchell is named the starter in a private moment. If they don't think he's ready, there's going to be a lot of, oh, man, are we in trouble? Or there could be, okay, let's see what the kid can do. So we'll see what happens. They have 10 days until they face Minnesota, get that extra day, Minnesota on Monday Night Football, if they're going to make the switch or not. Ugly moment in the game last night with Devontae Adams being carted off on a stretcher off the field after a hit by Danny Trevathan. situation. And as I'd mentioned, Peter, that hit happened. It was commonplace when I was playing, guys being held up and then you can just tee off on them. It was a free hit. But now in wanting to get the headshot out of the game with Trevathan, who I'm not sitting here calling a dirty player by any stretch of the imagination, he did what all players would do. You got that shot, you're going to take that shot. But if you want to get the head dropping out of the game, and that's one of the things he did do, he dropped his head and he led with his helmet. Do you believe that the NFL is going to come down hard on him for this?
I believe they'll come down hard on him. I believe they'll suspend him. And I believe they will also ask the referee, John Hussey, why was he not ejected from the game? You're exactly right, Mike. When I started covering the NFL in 1984, that hit would be seen as, man, that's a little over the top, but that's football. Well, in the last X number of years, the NFL every year has made additional rules. Almost every year has made additional rules to try to get hits like that out of the game. And to me, it's a textbook example of why, if you watch the game today, many people will say, including moms and dads all over the country, would say, that's the kind of hit that we think is just so over the top. It's why I'm not going to let my kid play football. And that might be unreasonable, but I hear it. I get letters to my column. To me, that hit has to be dealt with severely by the NFL, and not only to send a message, but to basically say this is totally in violation of our helmet-to-helmet rules, and we're not going to allow it.
Peter, along those lines, we saw a hit from Vontaze Burfict that was not flagged earlier this year. That was a 3-game suspension for him. Now, granted, Vontaze has a long and illustrious past, if you will, with suspensions. But if that hit, which wasn't flagged and the ball was nowhere near it, was a 3-game suspension, if you're a Bears fan, are you thinking that might be the baseline for what we may be looking at here with Danny Trevathan?
Well, Trey, I think you just said it, that it's his long history. It was Burfict's long history. If he hadn't had that long history, maybe he would have gotten a game. Who knows what? I don't know what would have happened to him. But in this particular case, Danny Trevathan, and again, I don't know if he's ever had any sort of fine or suspension for a helmet-to-helmet hit. I mean, he hasn't had a suspension. But I don't know if he's had a fine. And to me, Danny Trevathan is a good football player,
no question,
and not a dirty football player. And so I think that is the difference. Everybody is just sort of looked at Burfict, and they know that this is his history, but that's not the case with Trevathan.
And that's a great point, because Trevathan was actually the leading tackler for the Denver Broncos team, that defense in 2015 that essentially carried that team to a championship.
Listen,
that does need to be put into context.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. As far as on the field, Peter, and we know the Bears, obviously, it certainly seems like they're going to struggle a lot this year, as we talk about the possibility of the quarterback change. Not so much in Green Bay. You know, Aaron Rodgers, you have him on your team, you have a chance to win. But Bakhtiari, the one tackle, Bulaga, the other tackle, missed the game last night. The other 3 backups tackles are on IR. You have 2 running backs that get hurt last night. Mike Daniels, one of the best interior linemen, still missing time. Is that going to be the undoing of this team? We know there's a mash unit every year in the NFL. Is this year, does it seem to be the Packers seem to have that moniker?
I think that's a great question. I think there isn't going to be a team over the next few weeks in the NFL who's going to be asked to be carried, that's going to be asked to be carried by the quarterback more than the Packers. And to me, I mean, I'm not saying that, well, Aaron Rodgers absolutely can do it. But the one point I would make about Rodgers' ability in this case is that he not only has a really good intermediate target in Martellus Bennett, and he also knows exactly how to use his running backs as well as any quarterback in football. And even when he gets down to the lower levels of running backs, well beyond Ty Montgomery, because you got to figure he's going to miss a week or several weeks because of his rib injury. I think now they're going to rely on Aaron Rodgers more than ever. Can he do it? The whole key is, in my opinion, because now we see that, Eli Manning has to throw the ball before he has 2 seconds, before 2 seconds elapses after he gets the snap. Now the question is Aaron Rodgers going to get that 2.3, 2.5 seconds to at least be able to get the ball, say, to Martellus Bennett in the short and intermediate areas of the field? I think you need at least that much time. So that's the question I would ask right now with the Packers. But you're right. I mean, this is as bad an injury situation early in the year as Rodgers has had since he started starting in 2008.
Yeah, and we're not even talking about all the injuries to all their tackles.
Right.
Which
Well, no, I did. I brought it up. Well, both starting tackles out, and the
5 of them, I think, of all.
Yeah,
both starting tackles, the 3 behind them are on IR. Yeah.
All right. Speaking of Rodgers, Peter, he came out this week with a statement. Hey, look, we're going to lock arms for the anthem. We want the fans to lock arms with us to show unity, love, peace, and understanding of all issues. Obviously, what happened across the NFL landscape last weekend in reaction to what President Trump said was a huge story. And it's going to continue to be something that you guys did a great job on the MMQB monitoring that and chronicling it. The Saints have already come out and said what they're going to do in London this week. Drew Brees has tweeted this. They're going to do basically what the Cowboys did. They're going to kneel in unison before the anthem, then stand for the anthem. How much more do you think we're going to see of this as President Trump continues to sort of stoke the fires here?
I think a lot of the wildcatting, Trey, this week is going to be gone. I think a lot of NFL players feel that they made their point. And Trey, if you look at what was going on in Week 2 in the NFL, there was just a handful of players
14, I think. It was
demonstrating at all. Yeah, at all. And so, to me, when I look at what happened last weekend, that was directly because of a guy that most of these NFL players were very, very angry at, President Trump. And so I think now, from what I'm hearing, more and more teams are going to stand at attention for the anthem this week. And I also think that part of that is, and this I think is going to be developing in the coming days, maybe even the coming weeks, but I think that there is this understanding among some of the player leaders in this movement that the NFL is going to do something, is going to put a little bit of its money where, where the players want it to be, and that is to fund some programs in some of the cities in the NFL where players have been very, very vocal about let's try to improve relations between police and the citizens in these cities. And let's, like Doug Baldwin said it on CNN the other night, let's get the DARE program back in schools. And I know that people are kind of rolling their eyes, oh, just play football. But this is really, really important right now to the players. And I think the NFL knows that it can not only do a community service, in doing some of these things that the players are recommended, but they can also get the players, back saluting the anthem, which to the NFL, I know, has to be the kind of big deal. It has to be such a big deal because clearly if it happens much longer, I do think there's going to be enough of a blowback from advertisers that the NFL is going to start to feel it.
Well, we'll see how this plays out going forward, but obviously there are other things that are going to be taking place and other steps, like Peter alluded to, that the players and the NFL will work together. Peter, we appreciate the time. Thanks very much.
All the best, guys. Thank you.
Peter King from the MMQB.
So, Trey, is this over if no more players kneel? I mean, yeah. We've seen the first game, both sides, interlocked arms, stood. We've heard Drew Brees say they're going to stand. We've heard Ben Roethlisberger.
They will, although they're going to kneel together right. before the anthem.
Well, and you brought up the point, and you're right. If you kneel before the anthem, before the flag is out, and before the anthem is played, and players kneel down, and as a fan you boo them, what exactly are you booing?
Because it can't be about the anthem anymore.
It can't be about you. People are booing and all upset because they're kneeling during the anthem when the flag is out and the song is playing. So if they kneel before any of that happens, then why are you booing? Right. If they end up standing for the anthem, someone's going to have to explain that part of it to me if, in fact, that happens. But if we start to see that, and the Cowboys did it first in that Monday nighter, they knelt before the flag of the anthem played, and then they all stood. If all the players stand now, are Are we past this?
Well, we might be. I mean, there are certain players, like we had Rashard Matthews, the wide receiver for the Titans, on NFL Live on Tuesday, and he said, I'm not going to stop kneeling until the president apologizes for using that language to call us all that.
Then he won't be. He'll be. If that in fact the case, he'll be kneeling a long time.
He'll be kneeling a very long time because I don't think that's what that guy does. He doesn't do a lot of that. But I think the whole point of this, and this is just my takeaway on it, the whole point of this is the players felt like they needed to spark something to get a conversation going. And clearly that has been the case.
Right.
And as Doug Baldwin said, as Peter alluded to, if they can bring something back in the schools. Malcolm Jenkins, the Eagles safety, who's been very vocal about this, he went this summer with some other players to talk to members of Congress about dealing with some of this stuff. And if we start to see actual action taking place, like what Doug Baldwin is talking about,
was fantastic,
and getting more interaction. Brandon Marshall, the Broncos linebacker who knelt last year, then went and worked with the police in the Denver area to affect change. If that takes place, I think we will move past this to see actual progress on the issue that was really at the forefront of this.
Of why this all happened.
It was not about the flag. It was not about the anthem. It was a shock to the system.
But now that since so many people have said, well, even though you say it's not about the flag and the anthem, it's still disrespectful. So it seems like players are kind of, okay, I kind of getting a lot of the backlash from it, so maybe they're thinking, well, let's show by locking the arms. Doesn't mean we're not still doing what we're doing. As you mentioned, a lot of players are doing things in their communities, but I wonder if the kneeling is coming to an end.
It might, if the things that Peter was talking about do happen. I think the whole point of this, again, this is no one's told me this. This is just me as an observation, to spark something to get something done. And you can disagree with the way they, and that's fair and that's valid. But you also have to say it's valid to exercise a right. That's a valid thing as well. And if this exercising of that right, which sparks some outrage, now comes into something that can actually be a good thing and affect change, then it's all been worth it.
Yeah,
it's all been worth it.
Because the other side of that isn't to say, okay, if we keep kneeling and people keep being
I don't want to talk about it.
We're losing the message then again. So we got the players got the message out there. So maybe they will start to stand. We're hearing more and more teams that say we're going to lock arms and we're going to stand for the national anthem. So I'm going to be interested where this goes because we know there's a lot of mad people, and I wonder if that will bring them back if the players say, okay, we're going to stand now for the anthem.
And let's be clear, being mad doesn't solve anything.
No.
I mean, if it gets to, hey, we're right for doing this, you're wrong for doing this, we're wrong, we're right for being mad at you, you're wrong for being mad, then nothing gets done.
Right.
It can't just be a bunch of people running around with torches going, ow, let's go after somebody because they disagree with me.
Kind of like what you want to do to the UK people that voted golf.
Oh, no, those people are all wrong. Those people are completely ridiculous.
Home isn't just a place, it's a feeling that you're safe to enjoy the things that matter most. ADT lets you take that feeling with you. Whether you're at home, your business, or online, we help keep you safe. With security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance, so you can feel at home wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling for less than $1 a day. ADT. Home, safe home.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, Sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
All right, we continue to roll on Golic and Wingo this morning. We're on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. We have a phone guest we'll get to in just a second. But the tweets keep coming in, Mike, about the list of the 30 most boring games in the world. And it seems to be a 50-50 split.
Again,
you think
2,000 people in the UK voted golf is the most boring game in the world. Of the top 30.
No.
Golf, cricket, bridge, chess, and snooker are the top 5.
Snooker.
Snooker. It's like billiards.
But yeah, I'm aware.
Well, I'm telling you in case
Gotcha. I gotcha. By the way, Amy says golf snoozer made worse by being on TV. Totally agree. I'd watch checkers first. So that's one for you.
Amy. Yeah.
But I'm Team Lindsay. So agree with Wingos. Some of the best things I've watched this year were the exciting finishes to golf tournaments. Sorry, ESPN Golic.
Okay. All right, listen.
Keep coming on. Keep bringing them on our Twitter.
As Greeny would say, everybody's allowed their opinion, even if it's wrong.
If it's wrong. Yeah, that's you, not me.
Okay.
All right, so let's bring in Bomani Jones. You, of course, know him from the right time with Bomani Jones. Bo, lots to get into here, but first, since we were talking about it, what do you think is the most boring game in the world?
Are we talking about to watch or to play?
I think we're talking about to watch.
Oh, okay. All right, if we're talking about to watch, then golf is probably up there. Like, golf has to be
okay, Bo,
really,
thanks for being with us. We'll talk to you next week. See ya. Thanks, Bo. Bye.
Man.
We're done. Take it on.
Hey,
that was
play,
Bomani Jones. You
know?
can catch him on the right time with Bomani Jones. That was great.
Let
It's great when
the man
Bomani has on the
speak.
show. All right, fine. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying, like, at least to play, you can bring something in your bag. To watch, you're really dependent upon excellence on the other side. Like, we'll watch just about anybody play football, but it has to be great to be basketball that we're willing to watch. It's kind of a similar sort of thing.
Listen, I'm in agreement with you. But before we jump into some of the topics we've been talking about, let's. I'm going to ask you about the last thing we talked about in SportsCenter in basketball. You know how the commissioner can now fine players for resting if they're healthy, especially if it's a TV game. Okay, David Stern has done that, as we've seen. How about the new lottery system where now instead of the worst team having the best odds for the number one pick, now it's the worst three teams? To me and Trey, Bomani, we don't see how this helps. Now, if you're the fifth worst team and you don't have a chance to be the worst team, you would maybe not tank as much. Now, all you got to do is drop two more spots. If you're in the top three, you may get the number one pick. I almost think the reverse may happen in here with tanking.
Yeah, well, I think the question that I'd be curious about is per year, how many teams are like legitimately just flat out tanking, right? Because the incentive has been to get the number one pick, and tanking has never been that effective in helping a team get the number one pick. So I'd be curious to know just how much this changes, and you're right. Like, does this change the tank game for the third, fourth, and fifth worst teams to try to get themselves in that place? Because they're right. It takes away the incentive for perhaps the worst team, absolute worst team to tank. But the problem is, you take a team like the Nets last year, they were so bad, their problem wasn't tanking. Their problem was you couldn't tell if they were tanking or not. They were just sorry.
Well, if you don't know whether you're right, that is the definition of how bad you are. Are they tanking? Or are they just that awful? I mean, no one wants to be that team. But now you have three teams that you might be able to ask that question about, and that's what makes this very interesting. So that's the issue, Bo, in the NBA. And then we got a whole nother issue in college basketball with what went on in Louisville and this FBI sting and the 4 arrested assistants. This is just the tip of the iceberg, isn't it?
Here's the beginning. I still can't figure out why the feds are this concerned about this, which is not to say that there weren't laws broken and there aren't things to be concerned with, but if the feds are going to be concerned about this, they could have shut this whole game 20, 30 years ago. Like, if that was what they were going to do. I can't imagine. Like, we had Jeff Goodman on the radio show a couple of days ago, and I asked him about, what he's heard from coaches. He's like, I can't get coaches to pick up their phones. They think the feds are on the other side. Like, for all these years, all these cats are trying to do is not get caught by the NCAA. And you can tell it in the paperwork and the way the text messages were going with these coaches. They were really just worried about the NCAA. It never dawned on them that somebody had walked the feds in. And so the question to me is, what's the end game? If I had a better idea of what the end game was, I'd have a better idea of where this is going for everybody. But it's a lot of tight in college basketball right now. Good luck to them.
Yeah, Bo, it's interesting. I mean, one of our senators here from Connecticut, Chris Murphy, has already taken to Twitter and said, I'm as big of a college athletics fan as there ever is. In fact, his Twitter page has a bunch of UConn photos on it. But he's like, this scam has been going on way too long, and it's time we called them out on this. So this could be a significant hammer that somebody may try and swing.
And Bomani, I'm with you.
Wait a minute. Hold on, wait a minute. You telling me that after all this time, and this dude has been in a position where maybe, just maybe, he could have done something about it, and then the feds rolls up, and he's like, hey, you know what? It's about time we shut this down. This is what is so badly ridiculous about this to me. Where is their problem? Like, my problem is with assistant coaches walking players up to predatory financial advisors, right? Because that's the real thing I've seen that's been problematic, is that these cats like Chuck Person were dealing with a con artist, and they don't even know if he's a con artist, but they're going to walk these dudes up, and this dude was going to wind up stealing all their money. If this dude, like the dude from Connecticut, is worried about a player getting $100,000 or something like that, you got to be kidding me. And I bet bet you, when UConn was rolling and getting all these boys coming in, he didn't have nothing to say about it then. Like, maybe because they ain't so good now, it's a problem. But the grandstand is about to come, and what you're going to find out in the end is the only part that people truly and fundamentally have a problem with is these players getting money.
Well, that's the point. That's what I was making. I mean, I don't disagree with anything you just said, but now that it's out there, I think you're going to see more people say, like, what the senator from Connecticut
these politicians trying to look good now.
Yeah.
Is that what's going on as well? We've had people say that, Bomani, that because I'm with you. While I understand laws have been broken, I get it, but why the FBI involved in this? And then one of the answers
But isn't that the question? We want to know why. That's the issue.
But one of the answers was, well, some of these people are in positions, electable positions, and they're grabbing headlines by doing this. Do you see any validity to that at all?
Oh, yeah, I do. And, I mean, we have seen a very interesting, cynical political play made on the basis of sports very recently. And what it's banking on is the idea that people hate the players of these games more than they actually like the games themselves. And the resentment about paying players in college athletics is tied to a whole lot of the same stuff. So if you could go find a boogeyman here of some kid whose parents have robbed this system and defrauded the state, because part of these charges is the idea that the states have been defrauded by this. If some politician can find the right guy that's out here and say, hey, so like say you're in Kentucky, for example, you're running for office, you can run this whole game about these con artists at Louisville and these greedy players and their families and everything else, and it will work because it works every single time.
Bo, last one on the NFL. We saw both teams stand last night. Nobody knelt down. They locked arms and stood for the national anthem. Drew Brees said that's what the Saints are going to do.
But they will kneel before the anthem.
Before the flag or the anthem, but they're going to stand for the anthem. We know the Steelers are going to do that, other teams as well. Do you think we're starting to see the end of players kneeling, and do they feel they got their word out there enough? Do you see a shift in what's happening?
I think we're going to see a stop of players kneeling. I hope we see a stop of players kneeling, but the reason for stopping is not because the word is out there, but because the word has been resisted so strongly to the point where Jerry Jones and company have hijacked what it was that they were doing in the first place, and now it's just completely pointless. Like I saw where Drew Brees said that they were going to do that. I'm like, brother, you can skip the kneeling beforehand. That ain't really doing anything. Like the point that you guys are trying to make and the point that Jerry Jones made is y'all going to get out here and y'all going to stand for this anthem no matter what. Like, yeah, we'll play along with your little demonstration beforehand, but you're going to do what we say for this national anthem, at which point it's fair to ask the question, what's the point? So, like with Brees and everybody else, every time I've heard Drew Brees talk about the issues surrounding this, it's always, I support the cause, but, and then he hammers on the but part, right? Like he's never much on the front end, but he hammers on the but part, and he lives in a city where these matters really matter a great deal. The anthem is the part that he cares about, and so I don't even see the point of going along in the first thing. Like, you know, we're here to show that we have unity. Open up your newspaper, man. Watch television. We ain't got no unity. You want to show this unity, you have to do something behind it. And kneeling and then standing for the national anthem isn't going to be anything about it. Like, this is all now just a ridiculous show. And he might wind up in a case where Aaron Rodgers, where he's like, yeah, we're going to have this unity. We're going to lock arms on the field, and they're going to lock arms in the crowd, and we're going to be together. And the crowd was like, I don't know what the hell you talking about. Like, it's time to move on completely to some other form of demonstration or something else, because nobody involved in sports at this point has found a way to do this to actually start some level of conversation. Well, and I don't think that's what Drew Brees is trying to do. I think Drew Brees is just trying to make sure that whole locker room gets along with each other, because I'm willing to bet you there are a lot more locker rooms in this league that are like the Steelers one, where everybody's looking at each other like, so what you trying to say? Like, this is league got problems, and it ain't going to get fixed by kneeling before the national anthem.
Well, I do think the conversation has started. The question is where that conversation goes, and we had Peter King on earlier today, and he believes that the NFL is going to get involved, and we're going to try and get some things going that actually some of the players that started this, some concrete things, hopefully, that will get done. So I think that's.
I don't think so.
All right, that's fair.
So. Here's the reason why.
All right, well, we're running out of time. Go ahead, Bo. We're running out of time, but as quickly as you can.
But the basis of these discussions is hard to do. The leagues and nobody else is going to do this in a way that is going to make white people uncomfortable, and there will be no progress until that happens.
Well, I think the whole thing has made some white people uncomfortable, and I can tell you, I've had some conversations. Hold on, I've had some conversations with friends of mine that we never would have had before had this not happened, and so hopefully that will lead to something. You may think it doesn't, it might not, but hopefully it does. But we got to leave it there. Thanks very much.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, man. You got to take it easy.
Bomani Jones. Catch him on the right time with Bomani Jones. We roll on Golic and Wingo this morning on a Friday. Hope you're having a good start to your day and maybe a good start to your weekend. Lots to get to as Mike stretches. There was a little pectoral stretch there.
Little pectoral
tense,
stretch.
little tight.
Get ready for a way to
You're a little nervous.
No, I'm not.
Nervous.
We're going to give away bobbleheads, and this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Okay? Bickler, get this up on our social media now that you've been given this job as well.
Was that a promotion or just something that's lopped onto him?
I have no idea.
It's an addition. Hey, more responsibility for no money. Yeah. Congratulations on your promotion. Yes. Well done.
Let's not have social media people. Let's just make other people
separate issue entirely.
Yes, it is. So the UK did a survey, 2,000 people, the top 30 most boring games in the world. And there's a ton of sports in here.
It's clearly flawed.
Number one is golf, and
that's wrong.
I think they hit the nail on the head.
No,
perfectly.
you're 100% wrong.
So
any list that has darts as less boring than golf,
darts
is
is awesome.
Yeah,
dressage, well,
curling, netball, rugby, archery. You rather watch archery than golf?
Yes,
you're lying. You're lying. You're lying. I don't even know what super bike racing is opposed to bike racing.
It's bike racing,
but it's super.
Yeah.
Got it.
So what we're going to do is, because Trey is so against this, and I think it's just right on.
I am pro I'm all in on team golf.
Bickler is going to get it out there. I'll do it. I do best. Retweet it.
That is what you do best, by the way.
I do.
Congratulations.
Sometimes I do retweet quote
push
or that whatever. Yeah, one of those things. Give us your best tweet on why golf is the most boring game in the world, and then give us if you don't think that's true, tell us why golf isn't the most boring sport or game.
Here's the way it's going to read.
Both sides.
Yeah.
Of it.
Is golf boring? Best 2 tweets get bobbleheads. Are you team Trey, Team Golic? So the best one, anti-golf, gets a bobblehead. The best pro-golf tweet gets a bobblehead.
Right.
So the challenge now is up to you, the consumer. We have put this squarely in your lap.
So we're going to tweet it.
You all right there?
I'm so choked up by this.
You know you're losing, so you lost your voice already.
And here's the thing.
That's what happened.
The winner of the pro golf side of this, we would give you a golf bobblehead, but the sport is so boring they didn't make bobbleheads.
No, you know what? I have golf bobbleheads. There's a
kidding.
Jordan Spieth, and I have some old Tiger Woods.
I
have some old Tiger Woods bobbleheads.
Do you?
Jordan Spieth is right there.
Oh, we still have Jordan Spieth?
Yeah.
Right.
Way to know your own show.
I'm taking that one.
No, you're not, because you think golf is boring.
I'm taking Jordan.
If you say golf is boring, you cannot take the Jordan Spieth bobblehead.
Jordan's mine.
No, it's not.
Jordan's mine.
He's on the pro golf side. So, again, get out there on Twitter. Is golf boring? Best 2 tweets get bobbleheads. Are you Team Trey, Team Golic? And by the way, I think I've finally figured out this list. Again, it's 2,000 Brits, right?
Yes.
2,000 Brits of the Daily Mail, the 30 most boring games in the world.
Right.
Well, British people, or Britain and Scotland have never gotten along. See William Wallace. Okay? There's always been friction.
Freedom!
What are you prepared to do?
Yeah.
So I think that this is just British people's way of getting back at Scotland for inventing golf. Yes, because golf was invented by the Scots, the greatest game ever invented. And British people didn't think of it, so now they're claiming it as their own, and now all they want to do is just give it to the Scots one more time.
I love watching golf, especially when I need a nap.
Yeah, I love watching golf. And you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to play golf with tea in your mouth and hit it as you're taking a nap. That's what I like to do. Let's go. Tweet us in. We got stuff coming up in the next hour. Really good stuff.
So violent.